The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. We're talking skill set for a minute here. So let's get this mail. It says, well, the title is skill set. So it's always helpful when the mail identifies the theme. It saves me tons of time. And I know what to put on the YouTube thumbnail, which I will definitely not do. I'll come up with something equally stupid. A friend of mine was saying that, hey, you have really terrible thumbnails. Or your information you put there is awful. And you're not wrong. Anyway, it says, hello, Perch. Hope all is well. I'm writing because I was curious and never really thought about this until now. But if one was to try and pursue working with one of the major or minor comic companies, would they be outdated in terms of skill if they aren't up to snuff on the whole digital end of things? Wow, that's a big question. We'll get to it in a minute. I myself enjoy the more traditional style of work and the idea of making it in a somewhat traditional style, but I realize that it may be vastly more work, though they probably overhauled the whole process either way you approach it. Anyway, is there room for more traditional or mixed media style artists in comics these days, or would they have to vastly update their skill set first? Good question. So from what I've, I reached out to a couple editors before answering this. So I saw your mail and I actually sent some mails off and I asked, hey, what kind of digital skills do you need from creators? And I got a couple different answers and I'll relate to you now. So the first one was, I only hire digital artists. So basically this editor said, editor for the big two, said that when they're looking for new artists, they said that they went on to say basically, if an artist is a classic or legendary or established, and they do traditional like pen and paper, original art, then they definitely will work with those people because they've established that they can get that traditional work done. So I know somebody like a Sean Gordon Murphy, for example, still does, pencil and pen on paper, and several other artists do as well. Sean Gordon Murphy has a reputation and track record of being able to meet deadlines and get stuff done on time. So, if you were to hire someone, Sean would be somebody you could hire and feel confident about. If it was an unknown person who said, oh, by the way, I do everything in pen and paper, this editor at least will reject working with you and wants to work with somebody who does digital. By the way, I'm just relaying the answer here. I'm not giving my own personal commentary. If I was to give my personal commentary to the answer that I just relayed, it is that is dumb as fuck. But anyway, we'll continue. The reason why a lot of editors do like digital work and digital artists is because there's a perception that it is faster. And if it's faster, then the perception is that, deadlines will be met. So that's the kind of the sequence and chain of events that are going on there. If the creator knows how to use digital tools, then, they won't have to chase them down for work and, pages getting lost in mail and other kind of things. So if you like working traditionally, I don't believe you need to adapt your style. What you need to do is put your mind in the mind of the editor or the person you're working with and say, basically, how do I make their job as seamless or frictionless as possible? Meaning, how can I, when it's time to turn in pages or get work done, I need to prove that I know how email works. There are some artists out there, I won't name names, who really struggle with email. And there's one artist in particular, and I know a number of you are going to write in wanting me to cough up the name. Please just don't. I will keep confidence on this one. But there's one artist who basically has asked the big two that they would vastly prefer to communicate via fax. That's F-A-X, fax. And, to the publisher, that is a pain in the ass. And this artist is, I would say, known. I would guess 95% of you know who this is or have seen this work. And I would guess that most of you would say, well, it's probably worth dealing with fax to get the work from this artist because the artist is a good one. However, many companies will opt for cheaper, worse art rather than having to deal with some weird one-off, fax as a method of communication. So just take that for what it's worth. Again, I'm not really making a judgment call on if any of these things are good or bad. And, if I was the publisher and I was the editor, and I was working on some kind of Norse mythology graphic novel with Walt Simonson, he could fucking use a carrier pigeon, and I will deal with it because I think it's worth it to get that work. If I'm doing some kind of superhero book and Art Adams is basically signed on to do a monthly book and is going to do 12 issues for me, I don't care how he wants to communicate. I will adapt to him. But a lot of editors don't view it that way. And, in fairness, a lot of editors, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world for them to view it that way. I mean, look, they're trying to do their job. Their job is often more about throughput and try to get a volume of material out, as opposed to, doing kind of one book a year. If you're only doing one comic a year, one kind of graphic novel or OGN a year, then you'll put up with a lot of kind of silly, weird ways to, communicate and collaborate. But if you're doing a monthly book, you look to optimize. And many editors are doing like 10 monthly books. So, that's just their mentality. Right or wrong, somewhat irrelevant. This is about, what's the most optimal thing for them to finish their job. So anyway, back to the advice. If you're an artist, my recommendation is look at what you have to do in order to communicate with your editor. So get really good at doing a high quality scan and sending the scan in, if that's what it takes. Figure out a way how to decompress your scan, compress, not decompress, compress your scan into a optimal kind of size, and then, send that along. Figure out a way to use tools like Dropbox, if that's what your editor wants to use. Basically make it so that any of the technology hurdles that the publisher may be asking you to do, you're on top of. You never want to have to ask the editor, hey, I don't know what Slack is. Why do you keep what is Slack? What is the Slack account? I don't know what that means. Don't do that. Use Google to search for things. Use ChatGPT if you need to learn what things are. But basically make it so that tech and dealing with those kinds of aspects are not a factor in your career. And then by and large, you'll be able to do whatever you want. If you love pen and paper, or you love, pencil and, Bristol board or whatever it is that you're working with, then, and there's legitimate business reasons why you might like that. For example, you can then go sell your original art, and that is a revenue stream for you. So there's a big reason why you don't want to go full digital. But if you want to make that choice, then figure out a way to mitigate whatever friction that causes at the publisher. Meaning how you're going to get that original work to the publisher for printing, how you're going to communicate with the inker if you're not inking yourself, how you're going to get things to the colorist in a timely way, how you're going to get proofs to the editor and the writers so they know what you're doing. This is what you have to do. By the way, all these skills are relatively easy, and they don't require that you change the core of who you are. Now, all of that said, I think, you would be wise to at least understand what it takes to do digital art. Doesn't mean you need to do it, but understand the kind of the key tools. What is it you're drawing in? Are you working off of an iPad? Are you working off of a stylus board in front of a PC? Like how do you do it? If you were forced to do digital work, how would you accomplish it? And how would you retain your style and kind of your way of doing things in the process? To me, I think that is key. If you can accomplish that, then I don't think you'll have any friction or issues when you try and go sell to the publisher. And I definitely don't think you need to throw away your pencils and ink and suddenly go all in on digital. It really is about how to make your world feel more effective. By the way, the same advice would go for writers. Figure out, do you know what a Google Doc is? You should be able to use that. Whatever the collaboration engine is. How do you want to structure kind of the different things? If you're an editor, you'd probably want to look into things like Miro or Mural in terms of collaboration software. I mean, these are all things that you should do in order to make your life more effective. And generally, and I'm a technologist myself, technology is intended to make you more effective and efficient. And so when you think about a product and you think about what you're doing, think about it with that in mind. Don't learn something just to learn it. I mean, that can be nice too as a growth opportunity, but learn something with the lens of, here's how I make myself more effective. If I make myself more effective, I get more jobs, I make more money, and that's the name of the game. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. What do you guys think? Any other comments, things you want to add to the board? Please feel free to. And thanks for listening.